Welcome to the Loft today. Today I thought I would give you a few listening demos so that you can get a sense of what the room sounds like. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of a contentious topic on the internet, so we should talk about this first before we get too further. But let me walk up into the room. I've got more furniture in here now, so I've got to make sure that I don't trip over cords as I navigate this whole space, so bear with me a second. You can see we still have the SVS subs and the Valorem Primums in place. I'll set the camera down here so that I can have a chat first before we get too far along. So, listening room demos, system demos, what are the problems with these? First of all, what you're hearing in your headphones, hopefully you're listening to this video with headphones on now. If you're not, I encourage you to switch to that before I start playing any music. This is not going to sound great over any kind of speakers. And the reason for that is you're going to be listening to my room. And you're going to be listening to my room overlaid on top of your room. And on top of that, there is a room or acoustic space that is in each of the recordings. And so you have the recording's acoustic space and the sound reverberations in the recording overlaid on top of my room, overlaid on top of your room. In other words, what you're listening to is basically a mess. Every time we do these overlays, you maybe lose about 80% or so of the original signal. And so, 15% of 15% of 15% doesn't leave you much to go on, right? So put headphones on, that'll at least remove your room from the recording and you'll get a better sense of what's going on in mine. Second of all, some of these demos, people are looking to listen to a YouTube recording to understand what the Valorem audio speakers sound like, or what the Gustard X16 DAC sounds like, or even more mystifying, what the amplification stages sound like, or even the SVS 3000 micro subs. You're not going to get much useful information from any of these recordings about how any of these components sound on their own. What you're hearing is what the whole system sounds like in my room, and really only a small fraction of what's making it to your headphones is the result of the direct contribution of these particular components. The other problem with these, obviously, is that there's no kind of sane way to do any kind of comparative listening. So if you wanted to compare the Valorem audio Primum speakers to ELAX monitors, and so you listen to somebody else's recording of ELAX monitors in a different room with a different mic in a different setup, the benefits and usefulness of those comparisons is less than zero. So I'll tell you what these types of recordings are useful for, since I've denigrated them so much. I think they're entertaining. I enjoy watching and listening to them. I hope that you enjoy some of this as well. It can be a way to discover some music that you may not have listened to for a while, or that you haven't listened to at all. It does give you a little bit of a sense of what it's like to sit in this room. I would say it's probably about a 15 or 20% at most of the experience if you're listening on good headphones. Keep in mind that there's some lossy compression involved in the audio going through YouTube, but really most of the losses are happening in the transmission from the speakers to the microphones that I'm using. The other thing that I encourage, if you want to kind of explore some of the stuff yourself, is really try to use binaural microphones. Don't try to just use the microphones that are on your phone. You can get a decent set of binaural microphones for as low as $100. You can spend anywhere up to $8,000 or so for a nice set. About $100 will kind of get you in the ballpark, and I'll put a link to the binaural mics that I'm using for this recording in the description. Most of these mics require are condenser mics, so the better ones anyway, and so they'll require external power. I'm using a little $200 Zoom recorder that I'll also link in the description to provide the power for these mics. But that's really about it. A $300 investment will get you, first of all, a lot of fun. I've used these mics for recording like family opening Christmas presents, capturing some family memories, some interesting sounds outside. I think that they're just fun to have if you're an audio person. So $300 investment, you'll find other uses for besides bothering other people to listen to your system on YouTube like I'm doing here. But a binaural mic and then asking people to listen over headphones gets people kind of in the ballpark with what you're listening to in the room. But Really, it's all about entertainment. Nobody's going to be able to make a reasonable purchasing decision for the components that I have in the room based on what they hear through these recordings. Really, even if I brought you over to my listening room and you were sitting here with me, the components in this room are going to sound a lot different than they will in your room. It'll give you a much better sense, but it's still only just a sense. You really have to listen to gear in your system, in your room, to be able to make any kind of sane purchase decision. A YouTube video is not going to help you with that at all. Though, I mean, if you like what you hear, this might help some of these components to make it onto your short list. But just know that you're really only perceiving a tiny fraction of what's there. All of that said, I enjoy making these. I enjoy watching them. I hope that you do too. And so we'll get on to a little bit of listening. Here's a fun collaboration piece from a Yoshi Horikawa album, or EP more properly.
Okay, sing. Ready?
This is from